Welcome back, Philosophy 301. Dr. K here. I hope you all are doing well. In our last video, we talked about Ghazali's account of the four competing elements inside every human being: the pig, the wolf, the Satan, and the angel. In this video, we're going to talk about a list of traits that Ghazali suggests are acquired by submitting to or mastering the various elements, in particular by submitting to or mastering the pig, the wolf, and the Satan. Let's start by going over the list of traits Ghazali suggests that are acquired by submitting to the pig. Ghazali suggests that submitting to the pig, or letting the pig rule you or be the dominant force in you, leads you to possessing the following traits: foulness, shamelessness, greed, sycophancy, stinginess, schadenfreude, and envy. Now, some of these terms are common, and it's easy to see why Ghazali thinks that submitting to the pig would lead one to acquire the corresponding traits. Others, however, might seem unusual, if not a little outdated, and so need further explaining. So let's just take it from the top. So I think it's easy to see how foulness, shamelessness, and greed could come from submitting to or letting yourself be ruled by the pig. So think about what the pig is. Remember, the pig is the force inside you that loves eating and drinking and sex. So just imagine someone who is overeating all the time, and not good healthy food for them, but food that was bad for them, and perhaps partaking excessively in alcohol and drugs, and hence not taking care of their health or hygiene, and on top of that, always pursuing sex or maybe pornography. I don't think it'd be too much of a stretch to suggest that such a human being would not be an exemplary one. It's not going to be one that you would want your children to grow up to be if you had children. No matter how much we may love such a person and want them to improve, they would, in this case, be an exemplar of foulness or nastiness in a human being. And the shamelessness would seem to follow on the foulness. So if you're living a lifestyle that's going to lead to you being a foul and nasty thing, right? If you're willing to give up your health, hygiene, appearance, and reputation for the sake of bodily satiation or bodily pleasure, then you're going to be pretty much shameless, because when we feel shame, it's when we fall short in one of these areas: healthfulness, hygiene, appearance, reputation, etc. And I think it's easy also to see how if the pig was in charge, you could become greedy. You're not going to want to share the resources or wealth that you have. You're going to want to try to satiate yourself to the maximum degree possible, and hence keep what you have for yourself. This is also related to stinginess, which is being ungenerous or miserly or reluctant to give or spend. Right? Someone who is ruled by the pig is going to want to retain the resources that they have to pursue and satiate the appetites of their body. Now, sycophancy is also another unusual term that we don't often hear. So what does it mean, and why does Ghazali think submitting to the pig would lead one to acquire the corresponding trait? So sycophancy is insincere flattery given to gain the advantage from a superior or from someone in power. It seems someone who was ruled by the pig would easily become a sycophant, because getting on the side of the superior or someone in power would seem to open up the doors for you to more resources, and hence further ways to satiate your bodily appetites. Now, why embracing the pig and letting it rule you might lead to you becoming envious, I think is clear, right? If you're ruled by the pig, you want more. And so if you can't satisfy those wants, you may become jealous or resentful of those who have the means to do so, and hence become envious of them. So much so that you begin to experience schadenfreude, which is a kind of malicious envy, where you want the others who have the things that you want to have but don't to suffer, and you take joy in their suffering when they do. All right, guys, so we've considered what Ghazali takes to be the traits that come from submitting to the pig or letting the pig rule you. It's important to keep in mind that the key word here is rule you, or be the dominant force in you. Ghazali doesn't think that you acquire the traits listed that we just discussed through following the pig to satisfy your basic nutritional needs throughout the day, right? These are traits that you acquire from being ruled by the pig, from being a person who is such that the dominant force in them for the majority of their time is the pig. Also, I went into a little more detail in covering these traits that I will in the other sections, because some of them are unusual and not often heard. But if, as we're going through the other list of traits that come from mastering or submitting to the various elements, if there is a term you're unfamiliar with, look it up on your own. And also, if there's a question about how submitting to or mastering one of the elements could lead to you acquiring these traits, you can meditate on that on your own as well. And then if you had any questions, you can put it in the comments below. With all that said, let's now turn to discussing the traits that Ghazali thinks one acquires from mastering the pig or putting it under your control. He says that mastering the pig or having it under your control leads to you coming to possess contentment, self-restraint, modesty, peace, delicacy, piety, moderation, and disinterestedness. Having discussed now the traits that Ghazali thinks one acquires from submitting to or mastering the pig, let's now look at the list of traits he thinks one acquires from submitting to or mastering the wolf. Ghazali suggests that submitting to the wolf or letting it rule you and be the dominant force in you leads to you acquiring the traits of rashness, impurity, boastfulness, flaunting, treachery, self-importance, oppression, scorn, being demeaning to others, and to being prone to assault others. And he suggests that by mastering the wolf or putting it under your control, you acquire the traits of patience, endurance, forgiveness, firmness, courage, repose, boldness, and generosity. Now let's turn to discussing the traits that he thinks come from submitting to or mastering the satanic element. He says that the person that submits to or allows themselves to be ruled by the satanic element acquires the traits of deceptiveness, treachery, fraud, mean-spiritedness, trickery, and adulteration. He also suggests that mastering the satanic element or putting it under your control leads to you acquiring the traits of astuteness, gnosis or knowledge, learning, wisdom, rectitude, good character, greatness, and leadership. All right, guys, so in this video, we've discussed the traits that Ghazali thinks a person acquires from submitting to or mastering the pig, wolf, and satanic forces, trying to gain control within them. Of course, there's more to say here, and if you have any thoughts you want to share or questions, I'd love to see them in the comments below. Now, one question which I have, and I anticipate some of you may have as well, is what about the traits that come from submitting to or mastering the angelic element? Remember, the angelic element is the force within you that loves knowledge and goodness, and it urges you to seek these things and manifest these things in your own life. And it seems to me that in submitting to the angelic element, in letting a love for knowledge and truth and goodness and virtue rule you, that you would then be mastering the pig, the wolf, and the Satan. And hence you would acquire the traits that come from mastering the pig, the wolf, and the Satan. Now, what about the traits that would befall you from mastering the angel? That's to say, putting the angel under your control. I think the first question here would be, can the angel even be put under our control or mastered? Now, if we say yes, then I think there are two main possibilities that would follow. The first would be, if you have the angel subdued, then you, the heart, is going to be led by one of the other elements, the pig, the wolf, or the Satan, or maybe all of them. And in either case, you are going to then acquire the traits that come from submitting to one or more of the other elements. The second case that could arise, if it is possible to subdue the angel, is that you subdue the angel and you subdue all the other elements, and then you have a heart that by itself is in charge. What the traits are that you would inquire in this case are not so clear. And again, whether even this case is possible is not so clear. So the discussion of the traits that would come from mastering the angel, if that's even possible, is just speculative. Though if you have any speculations yourself to offer, do so, and we could continue the discussion in this yet to be uncharted territory. There's nothing but an open ocean when it comes to the question of whether we can master the angel and what attributes might come to us from doing that, Philosophy 301. So, all things said in this video, what I want you to be clear on and what you're responsible for is knowing the traits that Ghazali suggests a person acquires from mastering or submitting to the pig, the wolf, and the satanic element, vying for control of your heart. In the next video, we're going to look at Ghazali's argument that aligning yourself with the angel and manifesting the angelic attributes is the human purpose. So I'll see you in the next video, Philosophy 301. Dr. K out.